You must be delighted with how they've been getting on in League One this season, stepping up. Well, for Joe Ironside, stepping up to a new level after a really successful season. It's been going well.
Yeah, really well. Yeah. Well, Joe, I always say to Joe, and I think we really appreciate him as a club. I always say he has an outstanding attribute. He's really strong, and if we can give him service, we was convinced he'd score goals at this level. I think he's obviously proven at League Two level, and now he's doing it in League One as well. He's a really important player for us. So he's been brilliant, and then Sam as well, who's been on such a brilliant run of form at the moment. Really pleasing when your strikers obviously chip in with so much goals, and then also as well, just to mention Harvey Nibbs, who hasn't had as many minutes, but I have to say his training levels have been exceptional lately. So, the two boys know, I mean, Joey and Sam now are important for the team, but they know if they're not performing, Nibsy has been really, really good in training. And they're all really pushing each other. So it's really good for us.
Yeah, of course, from farther afield, a lot of the pre-match predictions, analysis around Cambridge United, question marks with Paul Mullin moving on. Being on the inside, were you always pretty confident that the lads you got would be able to do the business?
We certainly have confidence in the ones that we have here. There's no question of losing a lot of goals out of the team. And Mulls had an exceptional season last year. So there is a concern about that. But like you said, we have faith in the ones that we have, and they're chipping in with goals. So it's been good.
Yeah, just tell us a bit about Jack Lancaster, because we haven't seen too much of him so far owing to injury, but technically what sort of player is he like? What could he turn into?
Yeah, well, he is a really talented young player, and that's the thing. It's been really difficult for him. He's come in. He didn't the first day of pre-season. He was recovering from an injury. He got back into training. He picked up another injury. There was so it's been very stop-start for him, and he's not had the opportunity because of that, really. So he has to just keep working hard in training, keep getting fit through the training sessions. These Papa John games are opportunities for him to get minutes, and he's definitely a talented boy, but he hasn't had a great deal of luck this season.
Yeah, I suppose that's something that you bring to the coaching mix, in that your injury challenges mentally and everything you went through, you can bring some of that experience to bear with. I know Jack's not going through anything similar to what you had to deal with, but it is an area you know about. Yeah,
well, we're thoughtful. I think that's one, as a staff and a coaching staff, I think a lot of the time, managers that maybe I've previously worked on it, is they put a lot of pressure on the medical staff to get players on the pitch, and I don't think that's the case here. We appreciate that's their expertise, and so we trust in Mikey and Matt Walker to get the players up to speed. So there isn't any pressure for that, and that's important. So that'll have to be. It's like anything. There's a process for Jack Lancaster, and for anyone who's injured. You can't just kind of chuck him in and play loads and loads of minutes, because that's when you suffer with that. So the staff are kind of clued in, and we let the medical team kind of take the lead with that side of stuff.
Yeah, and with the thinking around the team selection for Tuesday night, have you got one or two that need a break at this stage? Will that be part of the thinking for the team?
I think so. Yeah, I think that there is going to be changes in the team, and that's probably a byproduct of the kind of run that we've been on. We seem to have been on Saturday, Tuesday for as long as I can remember. Against really tough opponents, and it's probably an opportunity to rest a few, and then to give minutes to players that are what we see as really promising players. That's the point in having a squad. We do have good players that are maybe haven't played so much this season, and it's an opportunity for them to play.
What do you make of Walsall as a team? I know it's always really hard for these games because they'll do the same thing and probably change players around, but what do you make of them?
Yeah, no, Matt Taylor's got in there, and his first full-time managerial role. I think he's done really well. He's brought in a lot of new players, and that obviously takes time, to kind of get everybody used to each other, and the players to get used to his ways. But I think they've had a reasonably good start, and I'm sure they're probably looking at the playoffs in front of them and thinking that's a realistic target for them, in the new year.
And for you on a personal level, it's been a year of change, hasn't it? In that you were with St Neots and going down one route, and then COVID intervened, and you've headed off in another direction. But have you really enjoyed it?
Yeah, I have done. Yeah, yeah. It was, COVID happened, the St Neots thing stopped, so I was in and around the first team much more, and really enjoyed it. And then obviously was asked to do it full time, so I was more than happy to do that. Obviously, I get to work under a really, a very good young manager, and then Gary, a really experienced football man, and then working with this team who are, I have to say, a really, really good bunch of lads to work with. So it's been great for me, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, in a strange sort of way, it was, I suppose, at the start, it was relatively low pressure in that you were there because of COVID and you had the opportunity to see what it was all about. So when it came to making a decision, do I want to do this full time, you knew exactly what you were letting yourself in for.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's something that I always wanted to get to anyway. So it probably came around fairly quickly, that the coaching journey that I've been on since stopping playing, whenever it was 2 or 3 years ago, has kind of happened fairly quickly from youth team and moving up the levels, and now with the first team. But that was always the end goal. Sometimes you're not fully in control of when these things happen. You just kind of work towards something, and you don't know exactly how the path will be, but that's always the way I've been, is work towards it. And like I say, it's happened fairly quickly for me, but I'm obviously really appreciative of that, and brilliant for me working under a really, really good young manager and the staff that we have here.
Yeah, and during the games themselves, presumably it's just common sense that having an extra pair of eyes is really handy if you've got the manager, the assistant manager, and then an extra pair of eyes, and however many other coaches there are there. There's so much going on in a game.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, we still have a fairly small staff. We see that when we see some of the bigger clubs come, when there's 20 staff members on the bench. But it is important, and little. It can be really little things. We all look at the game and we all trying to watch the patterns, maybe where we can improve in areas of the pitch, if we're being overloaded in an area. But certain things Bonds really needs to focus on, and he needs to focus on how the team are playing, what the threats of the opposition, and he doesn't need to be worried about whether a substitute knows what he's doing, who he's picking up for set pieces and stuff like that. So obviously that's what support staff are for, the smaller details that a manager shouldn't need to have to worry about. So between the lot of us, we look after all the small details, and then obviously have an input as well to how the team are performing and the threats of the opposition.
Cool, that's great from me.
All right, no worries, Ben.
Morning, Barry. Just a quick one from me. Does tomorrow night's game offer a good break from the league action?
Yeah, definitely a little bit, because it has been so. We literally just. I've said this already. We play, we recover, we play, we recover. It's really relentless. So yeah, definitely, it's a cup competition. We definitely want to go through in it, but it's an opportunity for some of the talented young players that we have to play, and we're looking forward to it. We want to get through to the next round, and yeah, like I say, it is a nice little break from the league, because it has been it's been a challenging past few weeks, to be fair.
But why is the intensity different?
Well, I guess it's probably just a different mentality. It's a cup game, it's a bit exciting in that sense. It's knockout football, which is always a little bit exciting. You always see what it can do to a game of football when someone has to, there has to be an outcome at the end of it. So I guess that's pretty much it. We see the next round in sight, and we'd like to progress as far as we can. So yeah, I guess that's the excitement of it.
That's great. Thank you.
Hi Barry, has this run of fixtures that you've just had been particularly challenging, given the size of opposition that you've been coming up against and how high they are on the table as well?
It's been a really hell of a run. It's the last week. It is kind of shows that Sunderland, Wigan, and Rotherham, 3 really good sides. But I think we're getting to a stage, and I think the manager said it last week, where we can't be too in awe or too obsessed with the badge on the front of the other team's shirt, because we all have a League One badge on our arms on the shirt, and we've earned the right to be here. And sure, the opposition, some of them very good, really, really challenging teams, and we have to find solutions to that. But I think we've come into the league, and I think we've grown in confidence that we can really compete, at the level. It showed over the last week. Now, I know we haven't taken the points total that we would like to have, and probably, maybe you could argue whether we deserved more. I think Rotherham was difficult. Wigan, was disappointing that we conceded the late goals, but that might have been a byproduct of the fact that we had played on the Saturday and they hadn't. Their game was off through COVID, so they may be a bit fresher in the last 10 minutes. And then Sunderland, I don't think anyone could have argued if I had gone the other way. It was a bit of a strange game because of the conditions. But we certainly put them under a hell of a lot of pressure in the second half, and it didn't quite go in. And maybe they had a touch of luck with their first goal from a corner that's gone straight in. So we've competed really well with these big teams, and we won't be too disappointed with the points total, because I think we've like I said, we've really competed against these big sides.
Yeah, and in general as well, in terms of the start of the season, how well do you think your side have adapted to the level, and how well do you think they've done?
I think really, really well. I was just saying that I was having a conversation with Bonds this morning, and whilst we don't train as much now because of so many games, we're obviously still out on the training pitch, and the levels I see are from 12 months on from last year. I really believe we're a much better team now. There's much better quality in the training sessions. It's quite nice working with the players. They're such an honest bunch. We know when we go before the game on a Saturday that at the very least we're going to get is a total effort, which must be lovely for the fans as well. It's a really easy team to support, because there's always a great deal of effort, and they'll always stick to the plans that we give them, and they're great to work with. And I think we're improving. I think we're improving all the time.
Can you give us an insight into what your role this season entails as first team coach?
Yeah, God. Well, there's lots of things. So it's a really broad question. So I take lots of the training sessions, work. Obviously on a match day, I'll do a lot of the set pieces and stuff like that. So just lots of general stuff. We all, we really value having a good relationship with the players and looking after the players. And so we, as a staff between us, we want to create the best environment that we can do for the players. And that's in loads of different aspects. So I guess it's, between all of us, we'd like to think we tick most boxes and create a really good competitive environment and a clear structure of how we want to do things. And I'm sure it does show, over the last kind of 12, 18 months that, there's a good structure and there's a really good togetherness in the group as well.
And with Mark Bonner as well, how impressed have you been with the job that he's done and continues to do as head coach?
Yeah, really impressed. Like I said, it's great to work under such a promising young manager. I've known him for ages. He's a really good guy first and foremost, and I think that's important because I think it's important that the players like him. Everybody does. He's an easy guy to like, and he knows what he's talking about. And as I mentioned, there's a really clear structure to what he wants. So the players go onto the pitch, they know, what's expected of them. And it's a really good place to work. So it's, he's done well, and I'm sure he'll continue to do so.
Just finally on the EFL Trophy, we've talked about, or you've said how you want to progress as far as you can in the competition. Does that come from Mark, or is that something that everyone buys into and really wants to get as far as possible in this competition?
I think it's like anything. It's football, and like I said, we'll go out training this morning, and as soon as they cross the white line and we'll play a small-sided game, the boys, they'll be kicking the crap out of each other because they'll want to win, and that's football. So tomorrow night, like any game of football, it's competitive. They really, really want to win. And yeah, so like you say, every game we go into, that's what we want to do. At the end of it, there's a thing of Wembley at the end. I mean, we don't look too far ahead to that, but we just literally look at the game in itself, and we want to win it. So that's where we're at.
Just quickly on team news as well, is there anyone who's definitely unavailable, injuries or otherwise?
I don't think there's any real changes from. I don't think there's any real change from Saturday. You know, there's obviously the couple of long-term injuries, and then I think Lloyd Jones is not too far away, but tomorrow would come too soon for him.
Great, thanks, Barry.